Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another round of Basis Picks. Now, this is part one of two for this weekend as there are quite a few fights to go through. Primarily, this is all about Riyadh season card Wembley Stadium edition, headlined by Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. We're going to go into the undercard, but before we get to that, there are a couple of other interesting fights taking place this weekend. So it's only right we start with those. So yeah, let's start with those. So rather than giving these fight cards their own individual segments, we're just going to kind of group them all together, and they pretty much are going to start from Friday. Now Friday on I think it's USA Fight Pass, there's actually I guess it's like an Irish what would it is, probably I think it's taking place in Ireland, but I think it's, you know, for the US fan base, for the top ranked lot. So you've actually got Callum Walsh, he's taking on Przemysław Renowslo. If you know that name, you probably won't, but he previously had he lost the decision to Josh Kelly as one of his previous opponents. And I'm trying to remember who he's 20. I think he's 22-2-1. Josh Kelly was one of the losses, and Michael McKinson was the other loss. So to be fair, he's only lost to people in good company, but he's now taking on Callum Walsh, who is 11-0 with 9 KOs. He's the big sort of stop out the wrecking machine, but this guy's never been knocked out before. He has been brought in, I guess, to make Callum Walsh look good and to take him some rounds. I do think that Walsh is going to win the fight, but I think he's going to get that fight via decision. I think it's going to go points. I think it's only a 10 rounder, so he's not really going to be able to just bowl this guy over. He's a pretty decent operator, if we're being fair. Ali Akhmedov is also on that undercard, and he's taking on the Pierre Hubert de Bombay. Now, that is a pretty much, you know, both guys have only lost one fight. Akhmedov lost via TKO, whereas de Bombay lost via decision. So, you know, you look at it in that sense, they are, you know, they're on similar levels, but de Bombay has had a lot less fights than Akhmedov has. Akhmedov has, de Bombay I think has had less. I think they're both around the same. I think one's like 21-1 and the other one's like 22-1. So they've actually got the same level of experience in the pros. Again, I think de Bombay is the lesser puncher of the two, but you know, fundamentally sound, pretty accurate. But Akhmedov, obviously, he is sort of the one that they're kind of hanging their hopes on. He only lost to Carlos Gongora, who at the time was a wrecking machine, and obviously he's, you know, that win has aged pretty well. It's, you know, that loss, I should say, and the win on both sides. So yeah, hard one to call, but I'm gonna go with Akhmedov. I think Akhmedov will win via probably a late stoppage. I'm gonna go around sort of round 9. I think that sort of 9-10 will be a decent area to put that. I know Thomas Carty's also on the card, one of Dillian White's charges from his Irish stable. Don't know who he's fighting, so I'm just going to assume that's another bring along knockover job type fight. I could be wrong, but you know, if I am, so be it. Now, there's also a card Friday night taking place in Glendale, Arizona, I think it is. Jaime Munguia versus Eric Bazinian. Now, Oscar De La Hoya has stated up and down that Jaime Munguia is literally only over there for one fight, then he'll be back to Golden Boy. But on all the promotions and all the promotional tape and stuff you see, none of it says Golden Boy on there at all. It all just says Top Rank. So I don't know how much that's correct or not. But Eric Bazinian is one of the Eye of the Tiger management team that Top Rank work with. He's, I guess a stable mate, quote unquote, of Christian Mbile. So I'm assuming this is one of those, we'll see how you do against this guy to make us decide whether or not we want to stick Mbile in the ring with you. And I think that Jaime Munguia, coming off of the Canelo defeat back in May, I think he's going to come back new and improved, more stock, more purchase in everything that he's doing. Brazilian is he's a good, competent fighter, nothing special, no airs and graces, but I do think this is going to be too much for him. He hasn't really seen someone the level of Munguia, and Munguia, a lot of his wins are of a decent, good level. So I do think Munguia is going to win this one. I do think he's going to come back with a stoppage victory. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that one. On the undercard, you've also got Richard Torres Jr. taking on Joey Dawejko. Joey Dawejko, very experienced journeyman, been in there with pretty much everyone. Has been like the sparring, he's been like the sparring partner king for a lot of heavyweights over the years. He's the one who famously apparently knocked out Anthony Joshua in sparring before the Andy Ruiz fight the first time. So he's a capable operator, but Richard Torres is going to be too young, too fresh, too active for Joey Dawejko. Now, Joey may get in a couple of counter punches, I'm thinking, but I think the volume and just the overall awkwardness and just strength, that country strength of Richard Torres Jr. is just going to see him through, and I see this stopping inside 6-7 rounds. I think it's going to be an accumulation, and Dawejko's just not going to be able to take it. So that's sort of my thoughts on that one. On Saturday, on DAZN, there is actually a card from Germany. Peter Kaderu is on the card. I can't remember the name of the guy that he's facing, but it's a German guy with a very high knockout rate, but not really against anyone of note. But it's the heavyweights, so things can happen. I do expect Peter Kaderu to come through, points decision or very late stoppage in that one. I think it's a 10-rounder. On the main event of that card, though, you've got Nina Menke against Daniela Bermudez. This is very interesting because this is for Amanda Serrano's old IBF belt, and this was one of the ones that they were supposed to have to fight earlier this year, and Serrano got injured she had the eye injury from the hair gel or the hairspray or whatever it was in Puerto Rico. So Nina Menke has now been given the opportunity to fight for the title. Amanda Serrano vacated it, so she's up at 140 at the moment, getting ready for the Katie Taylor fight in November. Now, Nina Menke is a mover in terms of these two. She's the physically bigger of the two, but Daniela Bermudez is the physically stronger. She's also the more aggressive and the volume puncher, whereas Nina Menke is more going to try and move, box around the ring. This fight is also taking place under 12 3-minute round conditions for the women instead of 10-2s. That plays into Daniela Bermudez's hands because it's going to give her more time to work, more time to open up. Now, whether she is used to working at that kind of pace, we're not sure, but it's going to give her more opportunities to create the punches, to create the accumulation and the wear down. And it's just going to take Nina more time to have to move, to have to set things up, to have to stay safe, to have to keep balanced and disciplined. That in itself is the most intriguing part of this. If it was 10-2 minutes, I would be picking Nina Menke all day long, especially being in Germany on her own home promotion. But because it's 12 3s, I'm not sure she can keep Daniela Bermudez off of her for that length of time. And Daniela will work, and she will dig to the body. She will get those shots off. So I am tempting fate here to predict that Daniela Bermudez is either going to win a split decision just due to the level of volume and accumulation that she puts in towards especially in the back half of this fight when Nina Menke isn't as fresh, or very late stoppage. However, I guess by just the natural progression of things, that probably means that that Nina Menke is going to win unanimous decision on the cards, especially, as I said, being hometown. If she stays on her feet, she probably gets the decision. I guess we'll have to wait and see. With that being said, that's kind of everything that takes place before Wembley, but you know what we're here to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into that.